Okay, today what we want to talk about is matching tables, graphs, and rules. Up to this point, we've talked about rules or created rules. We've looked at graphing. We've created table of values out of the rules. But now what we need to be able to do is to put all that together. Okay, so I have this rule y equals x. Now, so what I could do is I could make a table of values, and we set up our x, we set up our y, and basically what I'm seeing here, if x is 1, y has to be 1. If x is 2, y has to be 2, because like it says, x equals y, or y equals x. So that's telling me whatever x is, y is, or whatever y is, x is. If x is 3, y is 3. So just looking at that, I can say, okay, that makes sense, just looking at this rule. But now I have a table of now I have, one of the hardest things to do is going from the rule just to the graph. Sometimes you're not given that table of values, so you might not be able to easily recognize. So sometimes it is easy looking at this and going that way. And I can see, I go over 1, up 1, there's my 1, 1. Over 2, up 2, there's my 2, 2. Over 3, up 3, there's my 3, 3. So sure enough, that works. And then what we can do, we have those and we say that works. So this will match this. And then I see my table of values, -3, -3, so back 3, down 3. That checks. Over 1, up 1, we already did that one. And over 4, up 4. You hear me saying over and up. For those of you who had issues graphing, you need to understand x is over, y is up or down, okay? So that's why this graph will match this table. So we have a couple of rules, a couple of graphs, and a couple of tables down below here on your sheet of paper. Oh, and by the way, if you would please put a rectangle around the word match, and please correct my spelling right here, please. Put a rectangle around the word match, and please correct my spelling for table. Thank you. Okay, so I have y equals x minus 1, all right, and I need to figure out a graph that could go with that. So x minus 1. You know, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and look at this graph right here, and this is why we need to know our coordinate points as well, because like I said, it's not only going to, sometimes we might not be able just to go from a table to a graph. We have to be able to match these two together and see if it works properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a coordinate point. Over 1, up 2, here's my coordinate point right here. So my x is 1, my y is 2. Okay, my x is 1, my y is 2. I'm going to substitute that in to my rule. So I'm going to say 1 minus 1, okay, I substituted that x value in, and 1 minus 1 is 0, but my y value has to be 2. Does 2 equal 0? No, it does not. So this graph would not match this rule. These two do not match at all. So let's try a point from our other graph. So I'm going to go over 2, up 1. All right, do you see why it's important to understand the points when you're graphing? Some of you blew off the assignment last time in class, acted like you didn't know it, or may have not asked good questions. So this is why it's important to understand how to graph. So I have the point 2, 1 now. All right, This coordinate point here was over 1 up 2. This point here is over 2 up 1. You could pick the wrong graph completely because you don't know your coordinate points. So over 2 up 1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute that 2 in for x. All right? So I'm going to say 2 minus 1, that's my x value, that's my y value. 2 minus 1 is 1, and y, you can see, has to equal 1. So 1 equals 1, so that point works. What we want to do is we want to check another point. So I'm going to go, well, I'm just going to go over 1 and stay at 0 and pick 1, 0 as another point. And that's my x, that's my y. 1 minus 1, all right, I'm substituting that 1 in for my x value in my rule up above. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. And that has to be what my y value is, because it says y equals x minus 1. Or 0 equals 1 minus 1. And sure enough, that works. So I can say that this rule right here, y equals x minus 1, matches this graph right here. So now it's a little bit easier to go ahead and look at the points or look at the table of values. It says -2, I'm just looking at this table right up here at the top, -2, -3, 1, 2, 3, that works. I want to double check it though. 0, -1, that works. I got to check every single point. Over 2, up 1. That one works as well. So this rule, y equals x minus 1, matches this graph right here, which matches this table right here. Now my next one is y equals 2x. Okay, I'm starting at my rule down here. I'm going to start down here in the bottom right. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and compare it to my table of values that I have right here. I need to double check this because sometimes I don't necessarily copy and paste the right stuff. So we got to make sure that we have the right stuff. What if I put something up here that just did not match at all? So what I want to do is I'm going to substitute values in. 2 times x. So I'm going to say 2 times -1, and that's going to equal -2, and that's my y value. So that works. So now I'm going to say 2 times 0. 2 times 0 is 0. That's my y value. So that works. Now I have 2 times 1, which equals 2, and that's my third y value, so that works. So we can most certainly say, without a doubt, that this rule matches this table. Now let's go ahead and check our points. Back 1, down 2. Sure enough, that point works. 0, 0, yes. Over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2. That works as well. I cannot emphasize enough why it's important for you to know how to graph points. This goes to this one right here. Thank you.